Now, continuing on this subject of how teenagers see the world and this whole subject of how they look, you know, in raising our daughters, we're very, very careful. I think I picked up this particular phrase from somebody and then modified it. We said to them, dress like a lady, but think like a man. And we wanted our daughters to be as feminine as could be, and yet to realize that men are interested in the shape of the body of a woman and to not expose part of their body that should not be exposed. Dress like a lady, but think like a man. We taught our daughters not to expose their cleavage, not to expose their underwear, not to expose their thigh, because they'll just distract the young men around them. Now, here's a statement that I made at the beginning of our series, that children do not experience our intentions. Parents have very good intentions with their children, but children don't experience your intentions. They experience your words and actions. Now, let me make a reverse statement here as well. When your teenager is dressed in a way that exposes their body, they have no idea that their intentions can't be read. They don't have an immoral intention, but the people looking at them, seeing their exposed body, imagine that that exposure was made intentionally to attract them. So, in a very similar way, teenagers have intentions, but nobody knows their intentions. Let them know that people see their actions and hear their words and make their decisions based on what they see. We taught our son not to expose his chest or his underwear, that clothes are designed to cover the parts of the body that shouldn't be exposed. We also taught them that there are designers who design clothes specifically to expose those parts because they know that there are men who love to look at them. So here's a question for you. What is your child doing to make them look right? And how are you reacting to it? What are they doing to their hair? How are they looking in their dressing? Are you overreacting or are you intrigued by it? Are you trying to find out what it is that has made them change their look? Or are you all the time saying no to everything and in the process, so to speak, drawing out dirty water from your child and completely failing to understand them and failing to realize that this is the very stage of life that you went through when you were a teenager? Let's shift from how they look to how they're supposed to think. Children think in what psychologists call concrete terms. If a 3-year-old was to climb up on a table and ask Daddy, can I jump? Will you hold me? The 3-year-old expects Daddy to say yes, does not expect that he may be too heavy for the Daddy to hold. And this 3-year-old soon becomes a 5-year-old and they still want to climb on that table and jump and for the Daddy to hold them. They process life using the data they've been exposed to. Concrete thinking, very, very trusting. It's amazing that the Lord expects for us to approach Him with childlike faith. Not childish faith, but childlike faith. To take Him at His word and to expect Him to act on it. Concrete thinking is wonderful for faith building. But as they get older, adults have what you call formal thinking. Now in formal thinking, you have information that's not being exposed at that particular moment that you need to take into consideration before you make a decision. So for example, your son climbs up and says, Daddy, can I jump? And the parent says, no, don't jump. My arm was hurt the other day. I can't hold you. They bring in information that the son is not aware of to make a decision about whether or not they should pick up this son. Or perhaps you leave home at 7 o'clock every day and go to school, and you arrive at school at 7:45. It takes 45 minutes to make that journey on a school day because of traffic. And then on Saturday morning, you're going to the office and you're leaving home at 7:45 and your son says, "Dad, you're going to be late." And he says, no, son, I'm going to be okay. There'll be no traffic today. So your son doesn't know the flow of traffic on a weekend because he doesn't go out on weekends. But Daddy knows it is not a Friday, it's not a Monday to Friday. I can travel the exact same distance in half the time because it is not traffic. An adult can use information that is not being presented at that particular time to be able to make a decision. Now, the teenage stage of life, this is the phase of life where there's transition from concrete thinking to formal thinking. So there are times your teenager will speak like an adult, and there are times they'll speak like a child. Now, instead of being frustrated by this shift, I want you to be pleased by the fact that sometimes he does speak like an adult. Don't be frustrated by the fact that sometimes he still speaks like a child. Be pleased with the fact that he is transitioning. You will actually notice very often that children who are raised by their grandparents develop formal thinking much faster than those who are raised by their own parents. Grandparents, having gone through child raising before, are able to speak to their children like an adult, and the child is able to process that as an adult and be able to respond that way. Now, some people are thinking, is that a good thing or a bad thing? That is the reality. The third area is how they are supposed to relate to one another. You see, the world, including parents, as I mentioned earlier, are expecting this adult-sized teenager to be acting like an adult. Now, Dr. Ross Campbell came up with a model which he calls the emotional tank, in which he talks about the teenager is a drainer to the parent who is a fueler. And as you follow through on the video on this particular diagram, I want to bring to your attention the fact that the parent being a fueler is part of normal child raising. A teenager has emotions and they come to you for you to feel those emotions. They come to you wanting for you to answer their questions of life. This is a time of life when your child has transitioned from primary school to high school. They have met a new set of friends. They are coming back home and they have got questions about life. They've got questions about how people respond to different things. Mommy, why does so-and-so wear earrings and he's a boy? Why does so-and-so cut her hair short and she's a girl? And they are asking questions about the life and the exposure they're being exposed to. And as they ask you those questions, some parents get very, very irritated. Now, let me caution you. If you keep on remaining irritated and you keep on putting off your child, they'll find another source of information. Now, the parent who is being constantly drained by this teenager needs themselves to be refueled. And so the parent needs to learn to fuel from God as they fuel their teenager. Otherwise, if that supply line is cut off, the parent-teenager supply line is cut off, your teenager will begin to get his fuel from his peers. And friends, peer fuel is always dirty fuel.